Hi there, I'm back with the golf cart today. As you remember in a previous video, I diagnosed it, realized that there's a piston ring missing. The compression's down to like 80 pounds in that. So the owner decided to get it repaired. The previous video of this golf cart, just click in the link in the video description below the video screen here, and you'll see the previous video. So today I'll be rebuilding that engine. I've got all the parts and I'll show you how to do that. So I just got all the parts in. Cylinder block made in India, and there's the cylinder. Get out of the box. It's pretty heavy actually. And I've got the piston, and I've got the rings in this box with the wrist pin and the pins that hold the pin to the piston, and I've got the gaskets and one new motor mount. So basically at this point here I'm going to remove the engine completely from the golf cart. So to get at the motor on this cart, you have to remove the seat. So here's the motor again. I've got a lot of stuff to disconnect here. I'm gonna take this off probably. I gotta undo some of the motor mounts on the side. Gotta undo the muffler, all these cables, and then we'll pull the motor out. First I'm gonna undo the battery, just so that there's no power to any cable. At this stage here, the engine's out. The oil that's dripping there is from the oil injector container. And you may want to get someone to help you pull out that motor because she's heavy. Not only heavy, but it's awkward to get out of there. So let's go into the shop now. So I've got the engine on the worktop. Now I gotta rip it apart, and I'm hoping that the parts that were sent are the correct parts. So at this point here I'm going to start by removing the cowling off the head of the motor. They're all 10mm bolts, and there's even some underneath here. Now the cowling should come off. There's a lot of dirt there. Well, look at the dirt built up in there. What this can do is it can prevent the motor from cooling properly. You can tell it's had an oil leak here for a very long time because all the dirt has stuck to the oil, and you can see like a flow here. Here's the top side of the engine. This motor here, the carb actually feeds the engine with fuel through the crankcase, so that's why there's not an intake boot here or hole for the carburetor. What I need to do is to remove the 4 bolts at the top here, and they are a 12mm socket. These 2 bolts here on the opposite side are 14mm. There was so much dirt here that I just realized that there's 2 bolts under here as well, one 14, one 12. Got the head loose, and this is the moment everybody's been waiting for. Well, the final moment is when I remove the cylinder, but let's take the head off. Piston's got a lot of carbon in it. Look at the slack in there. Look at how loose the piston is in there. You can shake it back and forth. Oh, that's insane. Like I said, technically this motor shouldn't even be starting. I can fit a 12,007-inch feeler gauge blade between the cylinder wall and the piston. There shouldn't be any loose at all in here. So now what I'll do is I'll remove the cylinder, and I've got 4 bolts to take off, one at the bottom of each corner. So now I've got all 4 nuts off, and I'm going to pull the whole cylinder off. Let's see the damage. Oh, it's pretty bad. First part of the piston I showed you through the exhaust port right here. You can see part of the ring is missing. If you come down here, you can see part of the ring is missing from the other ring as well. So I thought it was just one ring that was missing, but it's parts from both rings that are missing. And on this side here it's scored, so that would make things even worse. To remove the piston pin, you need a pair of snap ring pliers. To remove the pin on the other side, I put my adapters with the 90-degree bend, so I don't have to remove the whole shroud on the other side. Now before I tab the piston pin out, I have to remove this dirt here because it can all fall into the crankcase and you don't want that. The best way to remove that is with a shop vac. You still want to put a rag here. To remove the pin, I'm using a 7/16 socket and I'm going to tap it. Try to hold the piston in your hand so all the pressure doesn't go on the rod. So here's a better view of that piston. This was the exhaust side. Oh, look at that. There's just no spring to them and they're like worn right out. There's part of the other ring. I don't care if they break. There. Look at how it's worn in one spot, it's thick in the other spot. Here's one of the new rings I'm putting in and I'm going to compare it to the old one just to show you. Look at that. The old one was like paper thin. That's incredible. Here's a better view on a white background. You can just see the wear and tear on the old rings there. You can remove the bearing here. It's just basically two little magnets. This whole base gasket has to be removed. And you have to make sure that it's super clean before you put the new one on. I'm just going to spray a bit of engine cleaner on the base where the gasket was so that I can get it fully clean. I'm going to let it soak there for a while, then come back and clean it off. I took the motor outside and cleaned it with gas and the air compressor, so it's a lot cleaner. I've got the base area nice and clean. I'm just going to use a 400 grit sandpaper to totally make it smooth and ready for the base gasket. You want all this brown stuff here to come off. So